providing your insight. We will, of course, bring you all of those updates and responses to Trump's latest travel ban. But we move on now, and the United States has vetoed a United Nations Security Council resolution calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The move comes as Israeli airstrikes across the Strip kill nearly 100 Palestinians in just 24 hours. The US was the only member to vote against the measure. 14 other countries backed it. Washington objected to the resolution, saying the call for a ceasefire was not linked to the release of Israeli hostages. Let's listen in to what Dorothy Shea, US representative, had to say.
U.S. opposition to this resolution should come as no surprise. It is unacceptable for what it does say. It is unacceptable for what it does not say. And it is unacceptable for the manner in which it has been advanced. The United States has been clear. We would not support any measure that fails to condemn Hamas and does not call for Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza. Any product that undermines our close ally Israel's security is a non-starter. This resolution would undermine diplomatic efforts to reach a ceasefire that reflects the realities on the ground and emboldens Hamas.
Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has described Israel's conduct in Gaza as intolerable and says his government is reviewing sanctions. The UK government has also called for an independent probe into the deaths at the Gaza aid sites. Hamish Falconer, UK Middle East Minister, had the following to say.
We are appalled by repeated reports of mass casualty incidents in which Palestinians have been killed when trying to access aid sites in Gaza. Desperate civilians who have endured 20 months of war should never face the risk of death or injury to simply feed themselves and their families. We call for an immediate and independent investigation into these events and for the perpetrators to be held to account. It is deeply disturbing that these incidents happened near the new Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution.
Meanwhile, the Gaza Health Ministry said that Israeli strikes had killed at least 95 Palestinians in the past 24 hours, including women and children at a school housing displaced families that was hit near the southern city of Khan Yunis. The aid situation remains dire, with centres closed again for what officials call maintenance. Well, joining us to discuss these developments is Dr. Pansara Amarasinghe from the Kotelawala Defence University in Colombo. Thank you ever so much for joining us, Dr. Amarasinghe. Let's first look at this UN Security Council meeting. 14 votes in favour and 1 veto from the United States. Is this what we expected to happen given the US and their alliance with Israel?
Precisely. The United States vetoing of this Security Council resolution which demanded Israel to go for a permanent and immediate ceasefire should not be considered as an utter surprise. It has to be expected because this was the 5th time that the United States decided to veto such a resolution, especially the last November during Joe Biden's administration. They did something similar to that. But having said that, we must analyze the rationale of the United States behind this rejection, as the United States, the Washington spokesperson clearly indicated that United States was not willing to go for any kind of a resolution that would undermine United States' commitment to broker a new ceasefire agreement in the Middle East. Especially if you look at the whole scenario from a vantage point of view, you can clearly see this resolution lacked 2 things. Firstly, it lacked the acknowledgement of the brutality perpetrated by Hamas on the 7th of October by massacring nearly 1,500 civilians in Israel. And secondly, it denied the fact that it would determine to disarm Hamas. So as long as these 2 factors are not fulfilled, United States would never ever go for a Security Council resolution that would demand a permanent ceasefire agreement from Israel in Gaza. But at the same time, we need to understand that the 14 states have voted in favor of that. So you can see this as a strategic victory for Israel, because United States, like throughout the years, as how they have been standing along with Jerusalem, this time also they supported the Israeli military measures. But at the same time, you can see a considerable reversal from certain European allies, such as France and the United Kingdom. They have taken back their previous stances, which are supposed to be extremely pro-Israeli, because this time they voted against Israel. This is kind of a tit-for-tat moment for Israel.
Yes, and Dr. Amarasinghe, I would like to build on that. Of course, we've seen more condemnation coming in from world leaders. Keir Starmer being very clear, calling Israeli actions in Gaza intolerable and talking about potential sanctions. Are we getting to a point now where it is Israel and the United States against the leading Western nations and their leaders?
It is quite likely to see a situation wherein United States would be the only ally, the durable ally for Israel, because if you look at what is happening in Europe, especially from European Union, Israel has been tremendously pressurized. If you look at the United Kingdom, they were on verge of revoking their trade deal with Israel. And France, Slovenia, Denmark, Netherlands, most of the European Union member states have come forward demanding immeasurable, immediate ceasefire from Israel. So I would like to quote what former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak recently stated, giving an interview to Financial Times, and he stated that if Bibi's government continues to drag into these military measures without moving forward towards a the resolution, ceasefire agreement, that will simply drag and it will simply snatch whatever the strategic victories attained by Israel. So it's going to be a strategic debacle for Jerusalem in the long run, because most of the allies who stood with them in the past, in 1973, in 1966, even since the inception of State of Israel, seem to have moved away from their sympathetic view towards the Jewish state.
Yes, and Dr. Amarasinghe, to bring an end to our discussion, further Israeli military action in the Gaza Strip, as we are expecting on a daily basis following Operation Gideon's Chariot coming into force, almost 100 deaths, a strike potentially being reported on a school housing displaced people. Given the action that is ongoing, what do you think is next after this UN Security Council failed to come to a demand that was agreed by all parties?
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu has clearly stated that the Gideon's Chariot's ultimate objective is to see the complete elimination of Hamas, de-radicalization of Gazan civil population. If possible, the inhabitants of the Gaza would be sent to the third countries, and the Gaza Strip will completely be subjected to the scrutiny of Israel. So this seems to be the overarching objectivity of Operation Gideon's Chariots, along with bringing back their hostages, which has been the central feature of the Israel military offensive. But we need to be quite realistic in terms of achieving these objectives, because even if they try to disarm, if they try to eliminate the entire population, still the Hamas has to be accepted as an ongoing ideology. You can see, if you look at the past few months, and Israel was quite successful in eliminating the leaders of Hamas. Yahya Sinwar is gone, and Mohammed Haneh is gone, Mohammed Al-Daif is gone. All these leaders have been eliminated, but still the Hamas forces are prolonging their military, their actions against Israel. So this has to be understood, whether to which extent it would be feasible to realize, to achieve the potential and complete victory against an ideology. You can kill people, but it is highly doubtful whether it would be quite practical to eliminate, get rid of a total ideology.
Dr. Pansara Amarasinghe, thank you ever so much for providing your insight. We will